Really bad.
Hey there, everyone out there in Youology land. It's Jenna here. For those who don't know me, I'm your hostess in the club. Hostess with the mostess, I like to think. And I have with me here today sleep expert Jane Wrigglesworth. I met Jane, I don't know, actually I meant to ask you this. I don't know how many years ago at a marketing business workshop thing. So I've known you quite a long time now, Jane.
Yeah, it has been. At least 2011. It might even been more than sooner than that.
Yeah.
So,
That's 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Time flies.
Yeah.
So can I just ask you, for everyone out there, how does someone become a sleep expert?
Good question. I have myself personally, I had some insomnia for about 10 years. So that's when I became interested in the science of sleep, because I did not sleep. And anyone who has not slept well will understand how annoying that is, how very, very frustrating that is. You lose the ability to do many things with your brain, with your physical endurance, etc. You get foggy brain, lose concentration. Everyone who will know that. So I had that for a very long time, and like most people, I tried everything that you could buy over the counter. So all your herbal products, magnesium, and everything that you can get, even the folk remedies like hot milk and a nip of brandy, that kind of thing. You know, tried everything I could to help with the insomnia. Nothing worked whatsoever. And in hindsight, I know that would not work because you've got to deal with a lot of other things first. So I became very, very interested in the science of sleep. So I thought I would study that professionally, and through Michigan University did a sleep and neurobiology course, and which was really great about how the brain works and how it interacts with everything else in your body. This is very much a gut-brain axis that interacts with each other. So I studied that, and I just became so fascinated with the science. It's actually pretty new science as sleep. It's only been around since about the 80s, where it's become a health discipline. So I studied that and was fascinated, and so then I studied to become a certified sleep science coach. So that's how I became that, and now try and help everyone else who has those problems too, sleeping.
Oh, look, so many ladies out there do. I speak to people every day that have sleep issues, and particularly I think as part of, as I always say, life in the 21st century. But there's, and my ladies in particular, there's hormonal imbalances and things like that, the ladies that I talk to. But it's huge. It's a huge issue. And it affects everything. It affects your weight. It affects your relationships. It affects, you know, your mood. And I mean, I know, especially in the last 6 months or so, I've had some sleepless nights for one reason or another. And I just can't work the next day. I'm useless.
Well, it does. It literally does affect you. So affects your brain. Your brain is, so you'll be less coordinated. You'll be less concentration, etc. like that. You're not getting that physical rest. And when you're not sleeping, you get that sleep deprivation. Your neurons are not talking to each other. So that actually is a detriment for the next day. So your reaction times as well are greatly reduced. So this is where if you're having something like 5 hours of sleep or less a night, you actually should not be driving. You are at the equivalent above of having a blood alcohol level that's above the legal limit. So you should probably not be driving if you've had 5 hours or less of sleep a night. Yeah, your reaction time is just far lower than it should be. So yes, it definitely affects your brain, your cognitive functions, but there's another side that it affects, and there's many studies done on this, and it's been linked to like things like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. It can lower your immune system, because when we're sleeping, that's when our immune cells are working away there and helping our immune. So it's going to affect your immune system. You get low immunity. As you mentioned, weight gain can be an issue, because it does affect those hormones that are involved with weight, which is particular ghrelin and leptin. So ghrelin, for those who are unfamiliar, is that ghrelin actually is a hormone that stimulates our appetite, and leptin suppresses our appetite. So leptin levels are actually elevated while we're sleeping. So if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not going to have enough of that leptin hormone in our body. So that's why we often crave foods, and bad foods, high carbohydrates and high sugars and that, if we don't get enough sleep, because we don't get that proper hormones released overnight as we should. And I've experienced that myself when I was working very, very late hours, when I used to work for the magazine. Very, very sleep deprived, and all I wanted to do was eat sugar and rubbish, basically. That's because our brain's telling us we're starving, we need sleep, we need a lot of energy. So we're going to release that ghrelin hormone, which is making us want to eat more, and that's what we do. We eat more, and so it's a bit of a catch-22, but we do need that sleep if we can get that.
Yeah, ghrelin, the cravings hormone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I remember that one by ghrelin is your stomach's growling.
Growling.
Yeah. So I remember those initially how I differentiated between the two. But also there's studies that have linked sleep deprivation to Alzheimer's disease as well. Because what happens overnight is we have, just like the lymphatic system that clears everything out of your body, we have the glymphatic system, which in your brain clears out various toxins and other things that need to be cleared out. And one of those is the amyloid protein. And this amyloid protein has been linked to Alzheimer's disease. So it's one thing that we need to clear out these toxins and things overnight. And that happens when we're sleeping. So it's not going to happen if you don't get your sleep, of course.
And that's really scary, because dementia, actually Alzheimer's sister, is one of it's taken over from heart disease, is one of the most chronic illnesses for women.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of you said at the beginning about I mean, sleep deprivation is almost an epidemic these days. I mean, it really is a modern disease, so to speak, because we are 24 hours switched on, basically. We have so much light pollution around that it's phenomenal. You know, we have our street lights on outside at night, which is maybe a good thing if you're driving home at night or you need to walk somewhere. But if you haven't got your blackout curtains in your bedroom, you're going to get that light coming in, and that's where that light, your brain registers that, yes, looking on your gadgets as well for the blue light, and that's where your brain registers that. You have receptors in your eyes that register that light, particularly the blue light, and it's that blue light that inhibits that release of melatonin, which is what we commonly call the sleep hormone as well. So yeah, light is a big thing at the moment, and I would say that's where we're getting that sleep deprivation and the leading to Alzheimer's. Not directly. There's not. It might not be that, but it can certainly be one of the things that does lead to that. Yeah, definitely.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, carry on. Sorry.
Interrupted. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, of course, there's other things. There's also linked to cancer as well. There was a huge, massive what they call the nurses study done a while back, with thousands and thousands of nurses took part in this, and those who are on the night shift had more incidences of breast cancer, for example. There's colon cancer as well, but they had more incidences of cancer. So that's another thing to watch out for, unfortunately. The shift work is not always good for us, or it mucks up your circadian rhythms quite a bit. So it can be tricky to get to sleep when you need to sleep, for example, during the day or when you do.
So if someone's having trouble sleeping, what do they do? What can improve that? Do you still get insomnia, or have you cured yourself?
No, I am cured, but I mean, certainly you're going to just like anyone who sleeps well anyway will have the odd night that they're not going to sleep. That's normal. But when you start getting into a pattern and it's ongoing, that's not normal. No, I sleep extremely well now. I have no problem sleeping, but I still have to work at it. So that means I have a routine. You must have a routine at nighttime, and you must have a wind down period at nighttime. So, for example, prior to when I wasn't sleeping well, I would work very late hours and might work till 10, 11 at night and then go straight to bed and wonder why I couldn't sleep. So your brain is so stimulated and so active that time after you're working and what you're doing that you're not going to go to sleep that time. So you need that wind down period of at least 1 hour. Now, a lot of women will say, I don't have that time, and that's true. We're busy people. We're very, very busy people. But you know what? You have to make that time. And I make that time to have that wind down every single day. So I now I try to log off my computer, and I'm still quite late on my computer, but I log off at least at 9:30 now. Occasionally I'll stay on a bit longer, but mostly I will definitely log off my computer at 9:30 or other gadgets and things like that at 9:30 at the night. Now, if you do need to carry on, of course, that's when it's a good idea to have the blue light filters on your screens. So I like to use Flux, which is that F.lux, and that's a blue light filter that it's set to the time of where you are in the world, and so say normally it starts now at this time, it's starting to get dark around 5:36. So probably around 6, 7, your computer will start getting a slight red tinge on your screen. And as it gets darker and darker outside at night and longer in the evening, your screen will go redder and red, not really red, but it'll just more of a tint of red to take that blue light out. Really very, very beneficial to have that on all your gadgets if you can. However, having said that, I also don't like any kind of electronics in the bedroom.
No.
I know a lot of people still do that, and I get that people like to use their cell phones as an alarm to get up in the morning. So that's fine. But would like to point out that if you need an alarm to get up in the morning, you're sleep deprived. You should not be needing an alarm to get up in the morning. So what you need to do is go to bed at the same time every night and get up at the same time in the morning. So every single day, I get in the weekends, you might want to go out a little bit later, and so you're a little bit later to bed. That's fine if you're going to do that sometimes. But really, throughout the week and trying to do the weekend as well, you should be going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time every day. You should be doing that. And by doing that, you're setting your circadian rhythm. So you're getting your body knows that. It knows that's the time to get up, knows that's the time to go to bed. And that's when you'll start getting sleepy at the time you should be sleepy. And you should be waking up without the alarm in the morning. I never have an alarm in my bedroom. I don't need it because I will wake up at the same time. Unless, of course, I'm going off really early in the morning to get a plane or something like that, then sure, you need an alarm. So that would be the first thing to do, is a wind down routine at night. And by that, I mean switching off your gadgets, doing something you really like to do. It might be reading a book. I love reading books, so that's what I do. You might want to do some gentle exercises or stretches or something like that. Nothing too stimulating, because that will get your body temperature to rise, and again stimulate your brain, so you don't want to do that. It takes about, if you did a full-on cardio workout, it takes 2 to 3 hours for your body temperature to come down, and you'll need your temperature to come down when you're going to sleep. That is a signal to your body or to your brain that it's time to go to sleep as well. So don't do any aggressive exercise at night, but any kind of wind down, gentle exercise is okay. You might like to put on some nice music. You might like to put on your candles, or put some beautiful essential oils on you. Whatever you like to do to wind down is a good thing to do. So definitely you wind down, go to bed and get up at the same time. So routine at night for that. And in the morning, you actually need to get some good light as well in the morning. So that resets your circadian rhythm. So you need to often, and we're coming into winter now, which can be a tricky time, because often we'll get up in the dark, we'll go to work in the dark, and we'll come home in the dark, and we stay in our office and we don't get enough light. So we need to have, so in the morning, that's when you can look at your gadgets. That's when you can get that big blue light coming into you on your screens. Put all your lights on in the house. Do what you can to get adequate light in the morning to reset your circadian rhythm before you go off to work. If you are still not getting enough light, you need to get out during the day in the morning sometime is a good thing. Because I'll give you an example of the light. For example, we want in the morning something like 1000 lux to start stimulation of brain and get us going. Now, a brightly lit home might only be about 300 to 300, let's say 300 lux in the morning. So it's not enough. We need to get more. And also the same as in our offices, that might not be very bright light either. So we need to at least get 1000, probably preferably 2000 of lux in the morning. And if you think on a nice sunny day, it might be about 10,000 in the morning lux, and at lunchtime could be about 100,000 lux as well. So we need that light to stimulate the brain, and to the sooner we get it in the morning, the better it is at night to sleep. That makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So light is a really, really important part of your sleep routine. So lots and lots of bright light in the morning, less so at night. Yeah.
And what about food?
Yeah, food. Food is definitely something that can promote or inhibit sleep. So caffeine is the obvious one there. So caffeine, I love a caffeine. I love a good caffeine, so a good cup of coffee. So I do have coffee, and I have my coffee in the morning. If I'm having one in the afternoon, I will have a decaf coffee. And that's because caffeine inhibits a chemical called adenosine. And adenosine, what happens is that our body naturally produces adenosine. It comes from the morning to the evening, and it builds up during the day. And adenosine actually makes us sleepier and sleeper. So when that's built up right through the day up to the evening, that contributes to our sleep drive. And we want to have, by the time it's built up really high, if it does, then that aids us getting to sleep and also staying asleep. However, caffeine inhibits adenosine. So that's just another reason why we should be looking at caffeine so that it's not inhibiting our sleep drive at night. So, and if you think about caffeine, it has a half-life of, or people metabolize it differently, but let's say it has a half-life of 6 hours. So if you had one at 4 p.m., then at 10 o'clock at night, it's going to be, you're still going to have half that caffeine in your body. So 6 hours later, you have half the caffeine in the body. So, yeah, very important to, so that's your energy drinks. Tea has caffeine too, but not as bad as coffee. But so do be aware of those. As regards to food, anything that's high in sugar, of course, is very inflammatory. It's not going to be good for your sleep. So I definitely would recommend not having, if look, I'm not saying cut out all sugars, do everything like that, but I would limit it in the evening at least. You might say that, but I still eat my sugars and I sleep fine, but definitely don't have it in the evening. It's not a good idea. So it also raises your cortisol levels. So it's the higher your cortisol levels, the lower your melatonin levels, basically. So you want to try everything not to make that cortisol level come high. And you've done a lot of work with the cortisol levels, Jenna, haven't you? And talking about adrenals and that, maybe you can add that more than I can, but definitely something you want to cut back on, the sugar.
Yeah, because as I say to the ladies, and you may not have heard it before, but from a hormonal perspective, if you're over 40 and your estrogen production is declining in your ovaries, it virtually shuts up shop, in menopause. So the adrenals, the adrenals take over a different type of estrogen, but they take over there. And if something is stimulating your cortisol, the adrenals will prioritize the cortisol over the estrogen. So it's kind of like a double whammy for women.
Yeah.
With, hormonal
issues.
Menopause.
Absolutely. And also to add to that, also the body responds to the high levels of stress, and it steals progesterone as well to manufacture the cortisol levels. So it's just don't go there. Just don't have that high amount of sugar, especially at night anyway. I mean, we all like to have a snack.
What about our wine? What about the ladies' nightly wines?
Yeah, I like my wine, and I have a wine with my dinner, and that's fine too. It's when you're having it, you're overindulging basically, and if you're having it too late in the evening, because it certainly helps you to get to sleep, but it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night, unfortunately. That's just how it works. So so alcohol can help you get to sleep better, because funnily enough, with alcohol, the production of adenosine actually increases, but that adenosine, which helps us the drive to sleep, as I was talking before, also subsides very quickly in this case. So that's when you're waking up, and women unfortunately are worse affected by the alcohol because we metabolize it differently than men. So yes, a glass or glass and a half or something for dinner is absolutely fine to have. But if you're overindulging and you're doing it constantly, that's not going to be a good thing for your sleep, basically, because you will wake up in the middle of the night as well. And also things like heavy dinners, I try and have dinner as early as possible, because your digestion is also on a circadian rhythm. Just like your sleep is on a circadian rhythm, your digestion is on a circadian rhythm, and it will start to slow down as the later it goes in the evening. You probably teach this, Gina, I'm sure, but you want to eat as soon as as early as you can, early evening as you can, your dinner. If you're having a heavy one at night, that's going to keep you awake at night because your body's trying to digest that while you're in sleep, and that will most likely wake you up there.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
Another thing to look at is from a sleep diet point of view, I encourage my clients and others to make sure they consume a lot of tryptophan during the day. So tryptophan in our bodies converts to serotonin, which converts to melatonin, and we want that melatonin to help aid us to sleep. Now, tryptophan, of course, is...
Sorry, I'm adding it. What is tryptophan?
Yeah, so tryptophan is an amino acid. We don't make that, so we have to consume that in our body. So tryptophan is found in various foods, predominantly protein. You can also find it in things. It's very high in something like things like seeds. So pumpkin seeds have one of the highest levels of tryptophan, and sunflower seeds. Tofu does as well. So there's various things that...
Can I just interrupt? I don't think seeds get enough airplay.
No, I don't either. No, honestly,
powerhouses.
Yeah, pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, one of my favorites. Both of my favorites. Seriously, amazing, full of nutrients, full of good fats, and full of tryptophan, which I'm all about, of course. Really, you need to eat your seeds. So, and most seeds will have tryptophan, but predominantly the highest ones would be pumpkin, and pumpkin I think is top, and then sunflower. Really good to have there. So eat those during the day. So I actually really like a very high level of tryptophan for breakfast. So basically high protein breakfast. This is for sleep diet. I'm talking. You might get slightly different. And so make sure you're getting that throughout the day as well. Your protein or your tryptophan throughout the day, because it's really important, because that, like I say, that is going to convert to the serotonin and then to the melatonin, which we need for sleeping. One thing about tryptophan, though, you do need to have some carbs with it to convert, to cross the blood-brain barrier, I should say, because tryptophan is one of the... It competes with all the other amino acids. And there's several of there, and it's one of the bigger ones. So it actually competes with all the other amino acids, and unfortunately, usually the other amino acids will win in this little competition, and tryptophan won't get to cross the blood-brain barrier. So if you have that with some carbs, and I'm not talking high sugar or anything like that, just any kind of carb, it could be vegetables or something like that, just some kind of carbs you should have it with. Then what happens is... Sorry?
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato, perfect. Absolutely perfect. So what happens then is that you do still release a little bit of insulin, and the other amino acids kind of bind to that, but the tryptophan doesn't. So that leaves the tryptophan free to cross the blood-brain barrier and to do what it should do, convert to serotonin and melatonin. So that's why we definitely need to have some carbs in our diet. You'll find that a lot of people on the keto diets or something like that, who are very, very high and very, very low in carbs, will not be sleeping well at all. So we do need to have some of those carbs with that protein to ensure the tryptophan gets across that blood-brain barrier. So that is, that's a very important aspect of the sleep diet, so to think. Yeah. What else is there?
Cool.
Carry on.
I love complex carbs, and I think that's where people get confused, because they hear this whole, oh no, you can't have carbs, get rid of carbs. But they're not talking about complex carbs. When people are saying go low carb or get rid of carbs, they're talking about like potato chips, and
Yeah.
they're one of our mainstays. You know, hot chips.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Things that are great, but carbohydrates are actually one of the three macronutrients that we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that can be sweet potato, like I said, because that's my favorite carbohydrate. But there's so many others. I mean, you have them, there's lists of them on my website, on the food list. For the
absolutely. That's right. You say carbs, and it's got a bit of a bad rap, with some people, but you need your carbs. As you say, it's one of the three macronutrients. We need to have them. So absolutely, I recommend for to aid sleep, you need your carbs. And interestingly, I would, for the sleep diet, if someone is really having trouble sleeping, nighttime is when you really need your carbs. Absolutely. So don't, because there used to be this thing that skip carbs past 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. I don't know what you advocate, but for me, for sleep, I definitely would recommend having carbs with your dinner. The good carbs, complex carbs, with your dinner. That's where your sweet potato is great. Brown rice, that's on your diet. Yeah, those kind of things definitely good to have. Another thing to perhaps think about is magnesium supplementation, because many of us don't have adequate levels, basically. And the problem was also many of us are really, really stressed. We're so busy. And that's a quick way to deplete your magnesium. Also, if you're exercising, that's a very quick way of depleting your magnesium. If you're drinking, that's a very quick way of depleting your magnesium as well. So many of us are actually sleep deprived. They lack magnesium. Now, I actually have a magnesium every single night before I go to bed now, still. And that's, an hour before I go to bed, I still have a magnesium tablet before I go to bed. I think that's important if you're a very busy person. If you have a lot of stress in your life, I think that's an important thing to have. Another thing is the B vitamins, so B complex as well, to give you a little bit of energy during the day, but also if you're stressed, again, that's another one that's going to be depleted very quickly. So vitamin B complex in the morning is good for that if you're stressed. And it aids, just keeps you a little bit calm, takes the edge off, and can aid sleep as well. Don't have that one at night though, because that might give you some energy, so you don't want to do that. Yeah,
that was brilliant for a woman over 40 too.
Yeah,
I recommend these. So to round that up, you would recommend the sleep diet. I'm talking about your routine.
Yeah.
Creating a routine.
Yeah.
Having a nighttime sort of ritual, turning off screens.
Bright light in the morning.
Bright light in the morning, being aware of the sleep diet, magnesium, the Bs, caffeine only early in the morning.
Yeah, I have mine up to about midday, but like I said, everyone, or sometimes about maybe 1. I don't want to, if I had mine, say at 3, I notice a difference, so I wouldn't have there. But yeah, definitely maybe midday, 1 o'clock, something like that. People, as I said, metabolize caffeine differently, so yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody is so different, but as general guidelines. So do you have, I call it a cheat sheet, but do you have a handout that we could put in the resources for the ladies?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a top 10 sleep tips. That some of them, most of them, what we've discussed here might go in a little bit depth, and some extra ones that I might have not mentioned here. So sure, I'll make that available.
And are your contact details on there as well?
They are, absolutely. So that's How to Sleep Well. My practice is howtosleepwell.org. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was wonderful sharing sleep tips with our lovely ladies. And we'll sign off here. And we really appreciate you coming in to talk to us.
Well, very, very welcome. I know firsthand how lack of sleep and poor sleep so affects the person. So I am here to help anyone try to get a good night's sleep, basically.
Because Jane has walked a mile in your shoes if you have those issues. So we'll sign off now, but we'll talk to you. I will see you again soon. See you. Bye.
Bye.